Well, good morning, campers. I'm going to start this video off a little bit different than I normally do, and I'm going to start talking about what I do not recommend and what I do not like about a couple of camp-related coffee gear. I'm going to start with this cup. It is so cute. It looks so good, but it serves no good purpose when you're out camping. It just looks like what you consider nostalgic. Your grandpa probably had a cup like this when he'd go out camping. It was probably blue. But this is an enamel, I believe, enamel steel coffee cup. And the problem with these is they chip super easy and then they rust super easily. Also, they do not keep your coffee hot. It gets cold so quickly. Even on a balmy Phoenix morning, your coffee will be sucked to freezing temperatures rapidly. Don't recommend this. Now, I still have this because we use it to hold some utensils when we're camping. I love the look of it. I think they're super cute. They just serve no actual purpose when it comes to drinking coffee. So I'm going to have a link on the website for everything I'll mention today. So this is a not recommended item as far as drinking coffee, but it's super cute. The next one I'm going to talk about is something I don't have here because it's packed away in our camp gear. I tried to find it. It is buried deep, but it is the Pelican, I think it's a Pelican Tumbler is what it's called, and I'm only half recommending that one, and that is because the enamel or the paint along it actually chips pretty easily. And I still use mine, but I'm cautious because it actually has chipped right where I drink. So I try to drink only where I see the actual steel and no paint left. So just food for thought on that one. Now let's move on to the fun stuff, what I actually really like and what I am going to recommend to you guys. So these cups, these are by Simple Modern, and we each got one. I got the wood, Jimmy's got the ocean. I have this one, this is called the Slim Tumbler. This is just called a Cruiser. The reason we have these, they're not super huge, they don't fit the mass amounts of coffee that we typically like to drink, but they will fit in your cup holder. And so when we're out camping, usually we'll have one cup before we go anywhere, and then we'll get another cup ready to go so we can sip it when we're driving on the way to a hiking trail, or if we just want to go drive around and kind of romp through the woods. So those are perfect because they will fit in your car cup holders. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is our grinder. So this is a coffee grinder. Yes, I actually use a coffee grinder, and I hate to say that because it's kind of a pain in the arse, but the reason I decided to use a coffee grinder, when I was using our blender to grind the coffee, it was fine, but it created a lot of sludge at the bottom of the coffee, and it was just annoying to clean out. I don't like to clean things, obviously. So the reason I went with this is I can select a very specific grind, a very coarse grind, which makes my coffee taste better. It probably tastes the same, honestly, but there's less sludge at the bottom of the coffee with this. And the reason I went manual is twofold. One is I'm cheap. This is far less expensive than an electric grinder. And the other is I don't want to bring an electric grinder when I'm out camping. This one I know I can take camping. I can take anywhere. I can grind our beans till the cows come home. And sometimes the cows do come to our campsites. I'll try to find a picture somewhere. The cool thing about this is a glass container, so you know I'm trying to avoid plastic, but it's also plastic lid. It's also got this silicone sleeve on the bottom that comes off, and I really like that because it provides a little stability when you're grinding your coffee. It also provides a little bit of a buffer if you're packing it away in your camp gear, so it's less likely to get broken. The other part I like about it, it's also got a silicone top here, so when you put your beans into the hopper and you start grinding away, they're not popping out and falling all over the place. Usually 2 hoppers full of coffee beans will fill this up, and this full will typically give us 2 batches of coffee. So the other thing that's important when you're making the best camp coffee, if you want hot coffee, you're going to want a kettle. This is the kettle we use, and I adore this kettle. I bought it because it was affordable and it was all metal, but it's turned out to be one of my favorite camping items. The handle, as you can see, folds down. It's surprisingly easy to just pack anywhere because of that handle folding down. I can put it in the dishwasher. It cleans it really nicely. It's got the whistle function, so I know when stuff is super freaking hot. And then it's just pretty basic beyond that, honestly. What we will use this for is if we want hot coffee, of course we're going to heat up the water. If we've already brewed our cold brew coffee, we will just pour the cold brew coffee into here and just warm it up. It works perfectly fine, and it's smoother tasting. Because if you watched our other video, you know we like the cold brew coffee because it's just smoother. It tastes less acidic or harsh. So this doesn't, if you put your cold brew coffee in here and then heat it up, you still don't have to worry about that acidic or harsh flavor. You still get a nice, smooth, but warm coffee in this one. Now, if we've had a long day, or a busy day, or we're lazy, or we forgot to brew our cold brew coffee, we have a backup method. And I was kicking myself because the last video I totally forgot to mention this in the coffee showdown. So I'm really bummed that that's not included in the coffee showdown. So I'll quickly go through this thing I use for making on-the-go coffee. So this is actually a tea strainer, and I've done kind of a reiteration of cowboy coffee, if you've ever heard of that. So if we haven't made cold brew coffee and we're just going straight grounds or ready to brew, what I will do is I will heat a pot of water to boiling. I will then let that sit for a minute and cool down a little bit, which is what you do with cowboy coffee. With cowboy coffee, then I have the grinds, let it sink, all that. I'll let you Google that yourself. What I do though is after the boiling water has sat for about a minute, I have filled my tea contraption with coffee grinds. And the other cool thing about this little pot is this tea grinder. Let's see if we can make this work. This tea grinder fits right inside. It's so cute. Okay, so then I let this just sit for a few minutes till we can't handle our lack of coffee any longer. And then we can take it out, and I've been able to finagle away enough to let it just drip the rest of the coffee down in. And then we can remove it, let it finish draining, blah, blah, blah. So that's how we would get hot instant coffee if we haven't been able to brew our cold brew at least the night before. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the cold brew and a couple different things that I recommend as far as devices. It is in the last post that I put the links, but I want to go in a little more detail. So the system I prefer is, this is a 64-ounce wide mouth mason jar, and then this filter specifically. So it's got this just cylindrical shape to it. The reason I prefer this one, it doesn't have a gasket, and I don't feel I need a gasket. I can pretend I'm a DJ Mixmaster, and I can spin this thing around when I have coffee grinds in it, so if I'm filling it up under a tap, it's easy to wet all the grinds this way. The other thing is when the coffee is brewed and we take it out, it actually rests super nicely. So I just let all that delicious coffee, every last little drop, get into the jar before I remove it. The other one, and the reason I recommend this is it's a whole setup. It's awesome. You get your lid, you get your strainer, and you get your jar. And if you're just starting with cold brew coffee, get it. It's so easy. But it's more conical. It's tapered. This one's cool for a couple reasons that I don't use. It does have a gasket, which honestly I've never found is needed. I've never had a problem with our other one leaking once the lid is on. But it does have a gasket. The cool thing about that is you can do this two ways. So you can do just like we do, we put our coffee in here and then brew away. Or the other thing you can do, you can put your coffee in the bottom, let it do cold brew, and then when you're ready to have it, you can put this in and then pour your coffee out this way. I did try that because I thought that was a cool concept. again, it's friggin' annoying to clean. I don't want to do that. So I don't recommend that, but just know it still works great. We use this all of the time. So it still does what it needs to do, but because of its shape, it is real tricky. It's real tricky to get it to stay. And typically when you do, it falls over and makes a big mess. So just something to be aware of why I prefer different kinds of coffee strainers here. I'm going to tell you a weird brewing method that we've been doing for the past few months, and I've decided to call it cough tea. This might be a thing. That name sounds like it's medicine, but what we have found is mixing just a little bit of flavored tea in with our coffee. It just gives it a different flavor. I mean, that's the whole point of it. A different nuance, we'll say. It's very fancy. So we will take our coffee. This is the coffee that we're using. There's another one, but we get it at Costco. It's really delicious. Again, we're not super picky though. We've done Folgers. We will do just about anything. I tend to prefer organic anything because I'm like a chemical chondriac. Is that a thing? I don't think it's a thing, but like a hypochondriac, but with chemicals. I know I'm getting them anyway, but I generally just feel better if I'm making organic choices. So we get this organic coffee. It's a medium dark roast. I prefer medium, but yeah, it's a medium dark roast, but it's still delicious. And then this Positively Tea Company. So this is a chai. I'm not going to recommend the chai flavor specifically. The chai flavor is good. It's just a little too much with the coffee. And you see what a big bag that is. And so having that with your coffee every day, it's just, it's a little intense. But I committed. We're going to finish the bag. And then the next one I have is like a triple berry. So I'm looking forward to that one. But the way we will do it, the way I'll do it, I mean, whoever's making the coffee will do it, is we put 4 tablespoons of coarsely ground coffee beans into our strainer or into our tea basket, and then 1 tablespoon of tea. And it's just enough to give it, if it's got caffeine in it, a little extra caffeine kick, but really it just gives the coffee a different flavor. It's like going to get a fancy flavored coffee, but you can do it at home. And I'm a big fan of the doing it at home because you get it quicker, usually get it cheaper too. So that's all I can think of for now. I hope I didn't forget anything on this video. I tried really hard to like go through and my daily routine and try to think, what do I use? So the best camp coffee is cold brew, easy, just grind your coffee, let it sit, drink it the next day. These are the backup methods I have. These are the additions that I have to make it really fancy. But I truly believe this is the best and easiest way to make coffee at all or camp coffee. And packing these things is super easy. So thank you again for watching this video. I really hope you guys learned something from this, and I look forward to doing more. You have a fantastic and wonderful day. Bye, campers. I hope all of that recorded. I say so a lot. And of course I had something else I was going to say that I forgot. I'm going to wait for that blade to pass. And I got the wood. Know where to put it. I'm doing a lot of air quotes.